Hello there, people of the internet. This was a discussion that was happening in my Discord server, linked down in the description below if you want to get in on this. And it was a really good point at the idea that by a huge margin, for most people, your hunting cartridge doesn't matter. The argument that this cartridge is better than this cartridge, simply, it doesn't matter. It does not matter for the capabilities and types of hunting that most people do. Now, if you were going after some particularly large game, or you were going after some far shot, like really long range stuff, or you're going after some niche thing that like 95% of hunters don't do, then maybe the cartridge debate matters to you. And I definitely understand that. There's always going to be exceptions to every rule. But by a huge margin, the people who argue that this caliber is better than that caliber, or this cartridge is better than that cartridge, or something along the lines of that, they'll go out and they'll hunt at distances or hunt game to where, like, the cartridge debate doesn't really matter. Like, if you are going after, say, white-tailed deer, which a lot of people go deer hunting in the United States, and a lot of people go white-tailed deer hunting in the United States. If you're going after deer, and you're somebody who, I don't know, thinks that 30-06 is the all-powerful, do-everything cartridge, and 308 is just this anemic garbage because it goes 200 feet per second slower, and you preach about the differences between the two cartridges and how much more capable the 30-06 is than the 308, or whatever it is that you feel like inserting here. It doesn't have to be that particular cartridge argument. It could be 6.5 Creedmoor to 308, or 7mm 08, or 08, or however the heck you pronounce that. Compare that to, I don't care, 270 Winchester. Take your pick of whatever cartridge debate it is that you see commonly pop up in the comments down below. And these people who talk about these different debates, oftentimes they'll get whatever it is that they think is superior, and they'll go out to do whatever hunting it is that they're going to be doing, and they'll go after medium game or small game or something like that within like 200 yards. Like, a huge majority of hunters do not hunt beyond 200 yards, and a huge majority of those hunters don't hunt beyond 100 yards. Have you guys seen the accuracy of the average person? Not like avid gun guys like me and you who are probably watching this, because we can probably shoot, but the average person can't hit anything beyond like 50 yards. Like, 100 yards is just absolute maxing out for normal people. And the cartridge debate within 100 yards doesn't matter at all. If you wanted to go hunting with a 357 Magnum within 100 yards, you'd be fine. You don't need that 30-06. So I have here two really good examples, actually. I got 30-06. This is a 150 grain bullet that's going to move at about 3,000 feet per second. This right here is commercial factory ammo, and it's a very common style of deer hunting projectile. It's just a soft point 30-06. And this is extraordinarily good at putting down deer. I'd say like out to 300 yards or so, you're not going to see any difference between this or something else like a 308, or even if we throw other calibers in there, like the 6.5 Creedmoor, or let's start looking at some military surplus stuff, 7.62 by 54R, or insert your choice of hunting caliber here. And even if you do see a difference in those things, within most hunting difference, the deer's not going to care what it is that you hit it with. If you stick a bullet in the right place, then that deer is going to go down. This is another very common 30 caliber cartridge, and it's one of the weakest 30 caliber cartridges out there, if we're talking about still rifle rounds and not looking at pistol rounds. So this is 7.62 by 39. It fires a 123 grain bullet, approximately. And it's going to go about 2,400 feet per second. So it's a lighter weight bullet going significantly slower than your 30-06. And of course, it has less energy, it has less power, it does less damage. But within like the 300 yards that like 99% of hunters are going to be hunting at those distances, most of the things that you're hunting for like this right here will still do enough damage to that target to be able to put it down, especially if we're talking within 200 yards, especially if we're talking within 100 yards, which most people aren't really going to be hunting beyond 100 yards. And most people aren't going after huge game like moose or bison or just those really big critters out there where you might need something with a little bit more horsepower to punch through some really thick hide and really thick bone. By a huge margin, people max out at medium game. A lot of people max out at medium game. So if you are the type of person to talk about hunting and thinking that you have a preferred necessary caliber to do the type of hunting that you're doing, and nothing else even becomes close to the equivalent of what it is that whatever it is that your pick is, keep in mind that, like, by a pretty huge margin, most of your rifle rounds within 300 yards do the same thing. Like, if we look at the benefits of 6.5 Creedmoor compared to 308, the benefits aren't really there until you get beyond like 600 yards, and even then they're so minimal until you start getting out to like 1,000 yards. Like, the benefits of those cartridges, and that's just an example because there's so many different examples between these things, like the benefits of 270 versus 30-06, which is another hot debate, or 7mm Remington Magnum versus 300 Winchester Magnum, which is another hot debate. The benefits of those cartridges from one to the other, none of that matters at the distances that like 90% of people are shooting, or at the game that 90% are shooting at. If you're just going after whitetail at 200 yards, then it doesn't matter what it is that you use. If it's a rifle round, you're going to put it down. So I'm going to give a good example of that. We got a couple of water jugs out there. I got a 30-06 soft point and a 7.62 by 39 hollow point. We're going to go ahead and see what kind of power difference it is that we get. The 30-06, of course, is going to have significantly more power than the 7.62 by 39, but the 7.62 by 39 at this distance is still going to absolutely wreck the day of that water jug. And if that was a deer, then it would still be put down. And this is a cartridge that is quite capable and quite useful out to like 300 yards, and most people aren't shooting that distance. All right, so first things first, we'll go ahead and we'll do the 30-06. Why not? We'll go for the right water jug. So 30-06 soft point. This is a sporterized 1917 Enfield. It's got a full-length barrel, 1 in 10 twist. This should serve us pretty gosh darn well, and it is going to vaporize that water jug. Let's send it. That water jug was vaporized. And within 300 yards, like, a deer getting hit with that would do basically exactly that. And now your 7.62 by 39, this right here is a cartridge that, of course, has less power. But within the distances that most people are going to be hunting at, it's still going to do enough damage to put down whatever it is that you're shooting at, assuming that you're not going after, like, some kind of specialty animal or something like that. So 7.62 by 39 in that other water jug. Let's see what it does. Yeah, that's still absolutely going to put that deer down. Let me go grab those, and we'll have a look at them. All right, I'm going to ask you guys right now, can you tell which round hit what water jug? Because if you cannot, then, yeah, cartridge debate doesn't matter at the distances that most people are going to be hunting at. This is the 7.62 by 39 jug. This is the 30-06 jug. Were you right? This one right here actually looks like it was torn up a little bit more than the 30-06, but both of them just transferred a tremendous amount of energy onto the target and blew it apart. And I don't care what it is that you're going after, at the distances that most people shoot at, this is probably going to be enough to put it down. Even 7.62 by 39, if you're going after big game, if you use a proper bullet, like if you need to penetrate deep, maybe use something like a solid copper round or something like that, some kind of extreme penetrator, versus like a lead core round like what we just used. Like there's ways to make a lighter shooting cartridge be dramatically more effective against a target, but most people are just going to use soft point rounds. And by a huge margin, most people, at the distances that they shoot, it just doesn't matter. And it's amazing how angry people get whenever somebody says, I like this cartridge better than that cartridge. If they like that cartridge, then dude, there are people that just get absolutely infatuated with their own rage over discussions like that. Like if I say I don't like 30-06 as a hunting cartridge because of X, Y, and Z, and I think that the 270 is superior because of X, Y, and Z, guess what? If both you and I went out, I had a 270, you had a 30-06, and we had insert any kind of shooting competition or insert any kind of damage competition or insert any kind of anything within 300 yards, and it's not gonna matter. Even if we took the 7.62x39 and compared it to that 30-06, yeah, you would probably see a difference with energy on target. But again, the game that we're going after, it's not gonna matter. Unless you're going after some real specialty thing, it just doesn't matter. And people are way too angry over this discussion, and they shouldn't be. If you have, like I said, by a pretty huge margin, if you give somebody who is convinced that 30-06 is the ultimate hunting round, if you give that guy a 357 Magnum lever action and have him go out hunting, and he hunts at the same distances that he would normally hunt at, assuming that he's not, one of the very, very, very few people who make shots beyond like 200 yards, then he'd be able to do whatever it is that he's doing with that 357 Magnum. Okay, I think I've made my point. I think that my 2 cents is officially out there and spent. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.